Hello and welcome. I've been using the screen time features included with Windows 10 for a while now. It works and is free to use with a Microsoft account in Windows 10. And I've told some family and friends about it and helped them to set it up. So I thought it might be useful for some to put together some instructions on it. And as I am a parent myself and use the system to control my children's access to Windows 10 PCs, I would try to look at it from the point of view of being a parent. I should note that the system is supported by Windows 10, Xbox and Windows Phone. In this example, I'll be focusing on Windows 10, but the concepts you'll learn can also be applied to an Xbox. As you will need a Microsoft account to grant a child access to a Windows 10 PC, where their screen time can be controlled, we'll begin by showing how to create one. In the past, when creating a Microsoft account, the first thing I would do is go online. But the easiest way to create a new account and grant a child access to a Windows 10 PC is to do it directly inside Windows 10 itself. If you wish to use the security option of having a code sent to your mobile phone via SMS, then grab your phone and take it with you before you begin. To begin, in Windows 10, go to Start and then Settings and open the Account section, and then go to the Family and Other People section. Then click Add a Family Member and then select Add a Child. If the child happens to already have a Microsoft account, for example for use on an Xbox, you could use that one. Or click The person who I want to add doesn't have an email address. And when you're ready, click Next. You'll now begin the process of creating a new Microsoft account. You can either create a new unique email address, or if you wish to use an existing email address, such as a Google Gmail address, click Use your email address instead. You'll then need to create a password. When creating passwords, it's recommended to use a mix of upper and lowercase letters and numbers, and possibly also some special characters. If you try and use any character that isn't acceptable, the system will let you know. Of course, make sure and make a note of any passwords you create. And it goes without saying that you should create a unique password for each account you create. You'll then confirm the country selection and add the date of birth. When you click Next, you'll enter the security section of the account creation process. I noticed that this process includes the use of a mobile phone number or an alternative email address. In this example, we'll use the mobile number option. I personally would choose to disable letting Microsoft Advertising use the account information. Once the account is created, the child is automatically added to the Family section in the Windows 10 PC, and you'll then receive an email confirming the account creation and the addition of the child to the Family section of the Windows 10 PC. And when you visit the Family and Other People section again, you'll see the account there, and that it has already been granted access to the PC. And so the child is ready to sign in. When the child signs into the PC for the first time, they will most likely see a prompt to sign in. Then enter the password created for this new account, and then the parent will also need to enter their password as well. If you happen to be using multi-factor authentication for your parent Microsoft account, then you'll also need to enter in a code generated by that system before you can continue. You then click Next and Yes, and then Finish to complete the process. I have found it useful to let a child use a PIN code instead of a password when signing into a PC. It also allows you, the parent, to manage the password and only give the child a PIN code to access the computer. And if the child then tries to change the password, they won't be able to. As you can see from this example, the child would need access to the mobile phone number used during the account creation process to receive a security code. Of course, it's up to the parent and child to agree on how things should be set up. In my experience, it's best to agree on the process from the beginning. For example, when granting a child access to a new computer that the child has not yet begun to use, as opposed to granting a level of access and then later removing part of it. OneDrive storage in the cloud with 5 GB of space comes included with a Microsoft account, so it might be useful to set this up as well for storing some photos or documents. For example, there are web-based versions of the Microsoft Office apps to try for free at office.live.com, and once you're signed in with your Microsoft account, your documents are automatically saved to your OneDrive account. Of course, many, and in particular many schools, use Google Docs, etc. But it's good to be aware of the available options, and especially if they're free to try for a while. Minecraft is now available for Windows 10 via the Windows 10 Store. And in my case, I, the parent, own a copy of the application on my account. I was checking to see if a child account on the same PC would be able to play using the copy which is technically already on the PC, but not the case. There appears to be a trial period available though. To begin setting up the screen time limits, first sign in to the Windows 10 PC using your parent account, and then go to Start, Settings, and open the Account section, Family and Other People, and then click Manage Family Settings online. Find the child account you wish to manage, and then click on the Screen Time link. As we noted in the introduction, the Screen Time system functions for both Xbox and Windows 10. In this example, we'll be configuring screen time for a Windows 10 PC. Before we begin, note the See Devices link on the right hand side. This is useful if you are, for example, trying to manage multiple child accounts on multiple Windows 10 PCs, but you can't remember which PCs a child account has been granted access to. We first click the button to enable Windows 10 Screen Time, and we can then proceed to enable screen time limits for individual days of the week. By default, the time window during which screen time can be used is between 7 AM and 10 PM. If we wish, we can remove this period for a single day and replace it with a selection of our own. So for example, we'll set it so that on a Sunday, the 1 hour and 30-minute period of screen time can be used between 10 AM and 6 PM. We can also choose to add times for multiple days at one time. And note how, if we include Sunday, the time period we already specified for Sunday will be replaced with whatever we specify here. Note that it's also possible to manage your screen time limits on mobile by going to account.microsoft.com and then selecting the screen time options for the account you wish to manage. And of course, you don't need to be at home or near the Windows 10 PC to do this. And it's also possible to grant a child some additional screen time on an ad hoc basis. We'll outline the basics of this later on. In the content restriction section, you can specify the blocking of inappropriate apps, games and media. I have never actually really used this system myself, since any child accounts I have granted access to a PC are standard user accounts, and which generally don't have the ability to install applications. And as my children have screen time limits on PCs or their mobile devices, they usually go directly to what they want to do, like YouTube with content restrictions enabled, or their favorite game. A child account, being by default a standard account, is a useful option, first of all from the point of view of security, and also since the child would need your help if they wish to install something, and that way you can keep an eye on any apps or games they are using. The ability to block inappropriate websites is limited to Microsoft's Edge browser for Windows 10 and Internet Explorer. However, I have noticed that as I also have Google Chrome and Mozilla Firefox installed on the same PC, that when I enable the blocking of inappropriate websites, that the blocking of inappropriate apps, games and media option is automatically enabled and will block any internet browsers Windows finds installed on the PC, and you can manually allow or block websites should you wish to do so. We can, for example, choose to block access to Facebook.com, and if the child attempts to access the site using the Windows 10 Edge browser or tries to use Google Chrome, they will receive a request to email the parent to request access. You can use the recent activity section to check what the child has been doing while they are signed in to the Windows 10 PC. Of course, you should anyway be aware of which apps and games they are using. Note that this option is not enabled by default, so to use it you must enable it first. Once it's enabled, you can also receive a weekly report as well. In this final section, we'll go through daily use of screen time from the point of view of the child and the parent. By default, in a new account in Windows, the desktop taskbar is set to hide icons in the notification area. The first thing I generally use on a new PC or account is to set all icons as visible, which makes it easier for the child to check what screen time they have left. Right-click in the notifications area and choose Taskbar Settings. Scroll down and under Notification area, click Select which icons appear on the taskbar, and then set the button to On. The notification icons, including screen time, should now be visible at all times. When a daily screen time period is close to ending, a less than 15 minutes left prompt will appear. Click Close to ignore it. In other words, if the child knows they won't be getting any more screen time on that day. Or click Get More Time, which will send the parent a notification email. Here we can see an example of the parent receiving the notification email on mobile and then choosing to grant the child an additional 30 minutes of screen time. Should the child click the screen time icon in the notifications area, the Microsoft Accounts website will open, but they'll only be able to view some basic information. Once a screen time period has ended, a Time's Up prompt will appear. If no more time is possible that day, let them argue with the computer so that you won't have to, or they can just sign out or shut down the computer. If the parent is available and can access the PC, they can use the My Parent is Here option to quickly grant some additional time. I use this option a lot. It's useful to have if, for example, the child is using their screen time to play a certain game, but half of this screen time is taken up waiting for their favorite game to update over the internet, so I can then grant them some additional time to compensate for the time they have lost. These options could potentially be used as a reward for good behaviour, or as a treat if things have been going well, like they've actually cleaned up their bedroom and not just pushed everything into a corner. And like we showed earlier, again there is also the option to send a request for more time via email. And a final note on something that some may be wondering about. I decided to test either blocking access or reducing screen time, and the child would then just disconnect the PC from the internet, since if the PC can't go online and check for changes, it isn't affected, right? Well, technically yes, but it's a double-edged sword, since nowadays a computer without any internet connection isn't much fun, especially for a child. And if they want to do anything meaningful, like check their YouTube feed for the latest videos, or play Fortnite or Minecraft online, they will need the internet. And without the internet, they can't use their screen time and then maybe request more time. You get the point. In my experience, kids nowadays sort of take Wi-Fi access for granted. And what I mean by that is that they understand that it's needed for a PC or mobile device to do anything interesting, but they may not necessarily understand how it works. Whereas many of us who grew up without the internet and started out with dial-up internet understand things only too well. If you found this video useful, please consider liking and subscribing to support the channel. And of course, share the video with anyone else whom you think it might help. And also, please feel free to add any comments or questions in the comment section below.